Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to ARD static series. So today in this video we will be covering your lecture number 12, that is on forestry. So today we will be completing your forestry chapter, okay? But before starting this video, I have to answer the question that I have given you in the previous video, which was, which of the following category of fish live in the darkness below the sunlight surface water? This is below the epipelagic or photic zone of the ocean. So they are deep sea fishes, okay? They live in the environment, they live in the places where the sunlight do not reach. So answer here will be deep sea fishes. Now moving on to the today's topic. So basically today our topic will be social forestry. Okay, so we will be discussing all about social forestry, because we have seen in the exam, mainly especially in the the mains exam, the question from the social forestry has come in the NABARD Grade A. So to give you a brief idea what is the social forestry, I have come up with this video, and today we will be discussing all about this, right? So basically social forestry is the practice of forestry on land outside the conventional forest area for the benefit of rural and urban communities. So whenever we are going for forestry, whenever we are going for the cultivation of forest crops, or whenever we are converting any land into forestry for the benefit of rural or urban communities, so basically for the benefit of people, if we are going for forestry, if we are doing forestry, that is your social forestry. As the name suggests, social forestry, which means forestry which is done for the benefit of people, right? So that is social forestry, and the term was coined by J.C. Westoby. Okay, so the term social forestry was coined by J.C. Westoby. It was first recognized as an important component of forestry for meeting rural need in the interim report of National Commission on Agriculture 1976. Okay, so the first it is first recognized as an important component of forestry in the National Commission on Agriculture, that is 1976. Okay, during after that it is included in the forestry. Clear? Then the objective of social forestry is adopted by NCA were to fulfill the basic economic need of the community. So why they adopted this social forestry? Just to meet out the need of community, meet out the need of people. So that is why they adopted this, they accepted this idea of social forestry. The scope of social forestry defined by the NCA include farm forestry, community forestry, community woodlots, reforestation in degraded lands. So according to NCA, the scope of social forestry include your farm forestry, your community woodlots, then your reforestation in degraded lands. What are these? We will be discussing it later. Okay, and by mid 1980 the concept of social forestry was firmly established as forestry of the people, by the people, and for the people. As we know about the democracy, right? It is for the people, by the people, of the people, government. So similarly social forestry is done for the people. Okay, so in 1980 it was established that it is the forestry, social forestry is forestry by the people, of the people, and for the people. Clear? So this is the general idea about your social forestry. Now let us discuss about the scope of social forestry. So basically a social forestry can be grouped into 5 different parts, that is farm forestry, extension forestry, community woodlots, rehabilitation of degraded land, degraded forest, and recreation forestry. So these are the 5 major groups in which your social forestry can be divided, right? Now let us discuss one by one what are these. First is your farm forestry. So farm forestry as defined by NCA is a practice of forestry in all aspect of farms, village land, generally integrated with other farm operation. So when we are doing the forestry in integration with the other farm operation, other agriculture operations, that is your farm forestry. As the name suggests, farm forestry. So along with the farming, when we are going for forestry, that is your farm forestry. Clear? Then farm forestry is the practice of forestry on farm in the form of raising rows of trees on the bund boundaries of filled individual tree in the private agricultural land, as well as creation of windbreaks, which are the protective vegetative screen around the farm orchard, rising 2 line of trees close to the shrubs in between. So basically, I will explain you in this in the simple language. So basically farm forestry refers to when the farmers are growing trees, around the farms. Okay, sometimes the farmer is deliberately sowing these trees around the farms just to protect their crop from the high wind velocity. Then these trees will act as a wind breakers. These trees will act as a shelter beds. So basically when the farmer is growing the trees, any forest trees around the farm for the different benefits, that is your farm forestry. And also if any farmer want to want to have good return from its land, so what he can do, he can utilize its farm boundary and he can just go for growing of these forest trees, and after some time he can harvest these trees. He can cut these trees for the use of timber or for any other purposes and get additional income from the farm forestry. Clear? So for example, a farmer can grow a poplar tree, right? A poplar is a tree from which from the stick of poplar tree matchsticks are made, right? So farmers can go for growing these poplar trees, and they have the life cycle of around 10 to 12 years, I think, and they get mature by then, and after 10 to 12 years the farmers can get good return from these trees. Clear? So that is the objective of farm forestry. Now let's move on to the next, that is extension forestry. Farm forestry we have discussed, when farmers is doing forestry along with the farming. Then we have next extension forestry. In extension forestry is the practice of forestry in areas devoid of tree growth or other vegetation. When there is any area where there is no vegetation, no trees growth, so there we go for the extension forestry, and situated in the place away from the conventional forest area with the object of increasing the area under tree growth. So basically the object of extension forestry is to bring the area under tree growth, bring the area under vegetation. Clear? If there is a degraded land, there is a land where there is no vegetation, there is nothing, so what we can do afforestation there. We can bring this land under the forestry. We can increase this area, we can utilize this area for the forestry, for the purpose of forestry, and that is your extension forestry. Clear? Now the extension forestry are of different types. See, first is your mixed forestry. So basically mixed forestry is a practice of forestry for raising fodder grass with scattered fodder trees. So in mixed forestry, what we are doing, we are mixing, we are growing grasses also, we are growing trees also. So we are growing fodder grass along with the fodder trees. So that is your mixed forestry. So here we are mixing fodder grass along with the fodder trees or food trees and fueled wood trees on suitable wasteland, panchayat land, village common land. It can be on anyone's, okay? It can be any wasteland, it can be any panchayat land which can be brought under this extension forestry, and there we can go for growing of grasses, grass along with the grass shrubs, along with the grass trees or any fruit trees. Clear? So that is your mixed forestry. We are mixing here, right? Then we have next wind breaks. So another here important thing is wind break. So basically wind break is a protective planning around the garden. So whenever we want to protect our garden, whenever we want to protect our farm, then we go for building these wind break. So field to protect against the strong wind, it usually consists of 2 to 3 rows of trees or shrubs spaced at 0.5 meter to 2.5 meter apart depending on the species. So depending upon the species, we are growing wind breaks, and these wind breaks are the 2 to 3 rows of trees which are grown around the farm, around the garden, to protect our garden or to protect our farm from the high wind velocity. So that is your wind breaks. Now let's discuss about other, that is shelter beds. Now shelter beds, as the name suggests, shelter beds, okay, these are also another vegetation, another kind of trees, another kind of vegetation that are used to protect the protect the farm. So basically shelter bed is defined as the belt of trees or shrub maintained for the purpose of shelter from wind, sun, snowdrift, etc. They are generally more extensive than windbreak, covering area larger than the single farm and sometimes whole region on a planned system. So we have talked about the windbreaks. So windbreaks is generally around one garden, it will be around one farm. But the shelter bed is the extensive form of windbreak, okay, whenever we are protecting any large area, okay, that is with the trees, by growing rows of trees around that area, so that will become your shelter bed. Now shelter bed are planted to protect your area from the wind, from the sun, or from the snowdrift. Clear? And this shelter belt, as I have already told you, it is an extensive form of windbreak. So here we are sometime protecting the whole farm, whole region, or in a planned pattern. Okay, we have a large region where we need this shelter bed, and then we are protecting all this region with the help of shelter beds. Clear? So the difference between shelter bed and windbreak is that extensive form of windbreak is shelter bed. ठीक है, clear? Then we have linear strip plantation. So these are the plantation of fast growing species on linear strip of land on the side public roads, canals or railway roads. So sometimes what we do, you might have seen that sometimes along the road, along the side of the roads, there are some trees grown. Okay, that is your linear strip plantation. So they are grown in a line, linear, that is why they are the term is given linear strip. So as they are grown in the line, okay, and they are forming a strip, so that is your linear strip plantation. And here we use fast growing trees. Why we use fast growing trees? So basically they can cover the area as soon as possible, right? So basically linear strip plantation, we are growing fast growing species with the linear strip on land, which is on public roads or railways, etc. Clear? So that was about your extension forestry. Then we have community woodlots. Okay, now what is this community woodlot? So basically it consists of plantation of fuel wood species on community village land with the intent object of increasing villager access to fuel wood, fruits and fodder. So basically this community woodlot, as the name suggests, community woodlot. So basically whenever we are we are doing any plantation for the benefit of people, so that they can get fuel from the plantation, or they can get food or fodder for the fodder for their livestock, that is your community woodlot. Okay, it is done at the village level mostly. So whenever there is a plantation done for the benefit of people, so that the people can get the wood fuel from there, they can get fodder for their livestock, so that is your community woodlot. Clear? Then we have recreation forestry. As the name suggests, recreation forestry. So forestry that is done for the recreation purpose, that is your recreation forestry. So basically it is the practice of forestry with the object of raising avenue, flowering trees or shrub, mainly serve as a recreation forest for urban and rural population. So for the purpose of recreation, for the purpose of beautification, when we are doing the forestry, that is a recreation forestry. This type of forestry is also known as aesthetic forestry. Okay, so basically this type of forestry is also known as aesthetic forestry because it is done for the aesthetic purpose also. So which is defined as the practice of forestry with the object of developing, maintaining a forest high scenic value. So whenever we want to beautify a place, whenever we are going for forestry just to beautify, for the beautification of any place, so that is your recreation forestry. Clear? Now moving on to the rehabilitation of degraded forest. So the third component, the interim report of NCA suggested that reforestation of degraded forest to achieve the following objectives. So basically NCA wanted to bring the land under the forestry, especially the degraded lands. So that is the objective of rehabilitation of degraded forest, and the objective of this is to grow short rotation fuel and timber species for meeting their requirement. So if we have a degraded land that is of no use, so what we can do, we can grow some short lifespan of trees which can be used for the fodder or timber, right, for the purpose of fuel or timber. Then to organize fuel wood supplies at reasonable rate. Now this fuel wood can be supplied to the people at reasonable rate by using these degraded lands, right? This will prevent pilferage for neighboring commercial forests. अब इससे क्या होगा? इससे there will be no issue, there will be no dispute within the communities. Then to tie up the degraded forest area with the nearby rural and scenic semi-urban center for the requirement of the fuel wood. Again, for the purpose of fuel wood, they can be used. Then to provide employment. Okay, another important thing is to provide employment. Through this, employment can be provided to many people. Then rehabilitation of degraded forest is the purpose. So basically we have a degraded land and we have to rehabilitate it. Okay, we have to grow crop there, we have to use its worth, we have to increase its worth. So that is why we go for rehabilitation of degraded forest. Clear? Now that was about the social forestry. Now let us talk about the difference between social forestry and agroforestry. So basically your social forestry is a plantation, as I've already told you, it is a plantation on land outside the conventional forest area for the benefit of rural and urban communities, and the objective here is to supply fuel wood, to divert cow dung from village. Okay, basically their objective is to supply fuel wood, objective is to supply timber for the housing, fodder for the cattle in the rural population. So that is your social forestry. Moving on to agroforestry. So agroforestry is the sustainable land management system that increase overall production, combines with the agricultural crops and animals, trees, forest crops, animal crops, simultaneously applies management practices that compatible with cultural pattern of the local population. So basically agroforestry, as the name suggests, agroforestry, whenever we are doing the forestry along with the agriculture practices, that is your agroforestry, and this is done in a sustainable way, so that the farmers can get additional benefit from these forestries, and also they can get fodder and other timber supplies from these forest crops. So agroforestry, basically whenever we are doing agriculture plus forestry together, that is your agroforestry. But if we are only concerned with the if we are only concerned with the welfare of people, that we have to go for the forestry, but the objective of this forestry is the welfare of people, that is your social forestry. Clear? So social forestry is thus the forestry of the people, by the people, and for the people, I have told you. And the planting of the tree on massive scale is done on a vacant land, community land. So when we have vacant land, we do the planting. So that is your social forestry. Mainly trees and shrubs are used to harvest multiple products. So in here we use trees or shrubs so that multiple time we can harvest. We can get the multiple harvest from these trees and shrubs. Talking about agroforestry, it is a system which is rather localized in its concept for managing a unit of land for maximized production. So objective of agroforestry is to maximize the output from a piece of land. So here the objective is the personal benefit, right? But objective of social forestry is the benefit of people. Then agroforestry is practiced mostly in the farmer's field. Here the land area is farmer's field or a own land. The land area is small, but here the land area is the large degraded land or in a community land. So the scale of land is different here, right? It involves integration of two or more components on the same piece of land. So basically here your crops and forestry agricultural crop and forest crops are both integrated and grown on the same piece of land. Clear? So I think this is clear now. What is the difference between your social forestry and agroforestry? Now let us discuss questions based on the concept which we have discussed so far. So first is, social forestry is the practice of forestry on the land outside the conventional forest area for the benefit of rural urban communities. The term social forestry was given by, first coined by, so it is very easy, it is J.C. Westoby, right? And then next question says, which of the following is not included within the scope of social forestry? So here we have discussed that community forestry is under the social forestry, your farm forestry is there, then your agroforestry, it is not under the scope of social forestry. Okay? Agroforestry is a different thing and social forestry is a different thing. Then dash, the practice of forestry is all the aspect on farms of village land generally integrated with other farm operation. So which of the following is the practice of forestry in which it's all its aspect on farm of village land generally integrated with other farm operations? So that is your farm forestry. Okay? In farm forestry we are integrating forestry along with the farmland of people. So that is your farm forestry. Moving to the next, which of the following is the practice of forestry with the object of raising avenue, flowering trees and shrubs mainly to serve the recreation forest? So basically, as we are doing forestry for the recreation purpose, and answer for this will be recreation forestry. Very easy, right? Then dash is a system that is rather localized in its concept of managing the unit of land for maximize the production of agricultural crop and forest trees complementary with each other. Now the right answer for this question will be agroforestry. We have discussed this. In agroforestry, the objective is to integrate the crops as well as forestry to maximize the output from a particular land. Clear? Then we have a practice question for you, that is, which of the following is defined as the belt of trees or shrubs maintained for a purpose of shelter from wind, sun and snowdrift? Okay, now you have to answer this question, and the one other option I will give you, both A and B. Okay, the last option is both A and B, and now you have to answer this question, right? So that was all for this video. This is the practice question for you. You have to solve this question, and do let me know the answer of this question in the comment box. So that was all for this video, aspirants. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also if you want to download the PDF of this lecture, you can join us on our Telegram channel. So that was all. Thank you so much.